It's the season again, ladies and gentlemen. No, not Christmas yet, doofus. Nintendo Direct season. That time where all the good Nintendo boys and girls are eagerly waiting in anticipation for the next wave of information on the upcoming 2020 games. But we'll be disappointed each week, while it seems that the Direct isn't happening yet. So while you are waiting, let me show you something that may soften the pain in the meantime. Because this won't be the first Nintendo Direct that Nintendo has ever showed. Oh no. There is a long history with these presentations, as they started in 2011. And have ever since then evolved into directs that we love today. So I think this is a good time for us to reflect and look at the Nintendo Directs that came before, why they started, and how it became this phenomenon within the Nintendo community. So let me take you back to 2011, where the first steps for the Nintendo Direct were set, as we go over each year and see how it developed. The Nintendo Directs we know today are very different than the ones we started out with. For the major Directs these days, we will often see Mr. Koizumi or Mr. Takahashi to present to us the latest updates on Nintendo games. For the very first Direct, they decided to split it up between Japan and North America. Us poor Europeans were left out, but what you gonna do? And as you can imagine, Reggie Fils-Aimé would take the lead talking about the newest games for the 3DS and Nintendo Wii. And calling you an idiot if you haven't purchased a 3DS.
And really, if you're neither one yet, what's wrong with you?
Which, let's be fair, you are if you haven't bought one yet. There isn't much special about this presentation, and it's baffling to me that this simple showcase would become the spectacle that it is today. You have no music, a white background and some PowerPoint slide. In the meantime, Japan was doing their own version of a Direct, which was a bit more out there. The runtime for this Direct was 3 times as long, with as front and center Mr. Iwata, president of Nintendo at the time. Again, the white background, but the man is looking swell like some kind of news anchor. He would also sit down with developers to talk to them in an Iwata-esque, plus they would show off full trailers. As in the American version, Reggie would just talk over the footage while it was being shown. The Japan way was more in line with the Directs we know today. Notable games that were shown off were Pushmo, Mario Kart 7 and Skyward Sword, which would become the first steps in the Nintendo Direct world. Let's jump to the end of the year to December 5th, where Nintendo already had some Directs under their belt, and were noticeably becoming more comfortable with the format. The Wii U has released just a month prior, and there would be a lot more crossover between the West and Japan, signifying Nintendo becoming a brand where the star players would be recognized worldwide. After a fun introduction by Reggie and a truly terrifying Reggie Mii following him around, we cut to another alternate version of a Nintendo All-Star. Yes, Iwata is back, but this time around as a good Lego boy. An awesome way to introduce Lego City Undercover. Eric Peterson is taking us through the upcoming games like Pikmin 3, Fire Emblem Awakening and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And may I show you the most wholesome thing ever? Where Iwata is showcasing a new first-person Google Maps demo.
本当に海の中散歩してるみたいな気持ちになりますね。
I love how this man really is having fun. We would also see an interview with a developer, but this time translated in English as well. And for 2013, I want to look at a Direct that would present the games that are going to be present at E3. A presentation that most Nintendo fans look forward to the most, as this is often where they would announce their biggest new upcoming games. And 2013 would be no exception. Pokémon X and Y, Mario Kart 8, Tropical Freeze, Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS, Wind Waker HD, this presentation was packed with good stuff. It would also follow the form that we know today, with Iwata being the presenter, which is a role that other people have taken over these days, with trailers showing after each segment. Not too much filler, just a good time and a lot of games. But after this Direct, things would go differently sometimes. Not to say that there weren't any good games announced in 2014, but things were starting to get a little bit bleak. When we skip to November 5th, we can still have a Direct with Iwata in front and center. But unfortunately, due to his disease, he would become a lot more skinny. But that didn't keep him away from presenting some awesome games, with as the headliner Majora's Mask 3D for the 3DS. And another look at one of Nintendo's biggest new franchises, Splatoon, which was announced at the E3 of that same year. And although Nintendo would release some great games that year with Super Smash, Mario Kart 8, Hyrule Warriors and Bayonetta 2, it would become clear that great games didn't cut it, as Nintendo was heading towards a low point in sales that they hadn't seen in a long time. 2015 would mark a sad year for the Direct and for Nintendo in general. When looking at the April Direct of that year, Iwata is still present. Only a lot more thin and fragile than how we have seen him before. Still, with all his enthusiasm announcing the new games that were on their way. Starting off with some great Smash DLC with the return of Mewtwo and Lucas, and some updates on other games with 200cc and Mario Kart, some Splatoon footage and Yoshi's Woolly World. There was some new stuff to be seen, but no major things. But this remains a special presentation, as this would become the last major Direct where Iwata would be in front and center of the camera. In June 2015, we would get an appearance from him in the form of a puppet. Later it was speculated that the presentation was done in this form because Iwata wouldn't be able to perform himself, or because he didn't want people to see the way he was hurting from his tumor. Which would make sense as he would die only a month later. After which, Nintendo Directs really wouldn't be the same, without the man that obviously had a lot of love and passion for the stuff that he created. Looking ahead to March 2016, it seemed that fans were starting to get agitated. The Wii U wasn't selling well, there were no really big games on the horizon except for Breath of the Wild, and the Directs weren't really helping. With 2.4k dislikes, Nintendo users were showing their disdain about the upcoming game. Now, this still wasn't catastrophic as the video still had 13k likes, but for a Nintendo Direct this was pretty much unseen. So what did Nintendo show to get the fans disappointed in this presentation? Well, not that much great stuff. Again, updates on games we already knew about like Star Fox Zero and Mario Sonic at the Olympics, an announcement for Planet Kirby Robobot, which would become a great entry in the series I have to say, but most importantly, they would show off a new Paper Mario game, which many people were waiting for, but unfortunately they didn't get what they want, as this game would follow suit to the disliked Sticker Star, and not the fan favorite The 1000-Year Door. Which would explain the dislikes. Not a great year for Nintendo, but as you probably know, that would all change in 2017. Because we all know what happened in 2017. That's right, our baby boy Switch would release in March. With a great showcase presentation releasing beforehand in January, showing everything off that we could expect from this hybrid device. But let's skip ahead to the last general Direct that would release that year. We already had seen some bangers from Nintendo with some of the best Switch games to this day releasing before the last Direct, with Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 2. But that was just the beginning. For the September presentation, Koizumi, who would take a much bigger role on the front stage since the release of the Switch, showed us what was still missing that year, like Mario Odyssey, but also some stuff for 2018 with Kirby Star Allies and Octopath Traveler. This would also be iconic as it was one of the last times that a pretty big portion of the presentation was going to be dedicated to 3DS games, as it was slowly but surely going to disappear as a focus of Nintendo. Nintendo was going full steam ahead, the Switch was selling greatly, the games were awesome, a lot of good stuff was on the horizon because the hype train kept on going. September 2018, after an E3 Direct that was kind of meh, with the best new announcement from that being Super Mario Party, and we all know how that turned out, and the major focus being on Super Smash. Which was awesome of course, but still it was lacking some game announcements, so in September they had some catching up to do. And catching up, they did. With their final projects for the 3DS, which would be Luigi's Mansion and Bowser's Inside Story, which were both remakes. But the focus would be on Switch of course. With the announcement of Isabelle as a fighter in Smash, the confirmation about an Animal Crossing Switch game, and some great third-party support with Diablo 3. It was a good year for Nintendo fans, but my friend, things would only become better. Remember last year? I sure do, as it was only a month ago and some parts of my brain are still working. E3 2019. I can remember it so vividly. It was a sight to behold. Starting off sad with the hero coming to Smash, not that the hero is bad, but I was really hoping for Banjo-Kazooie. Which I got in the end, so thumbs up. A nice Doug Bowser meme, Link's Awakening, Astral Chain, Sword and Shield, Cadence of Hyrule, Animal Crossing New Horizons, come on! This was the bomb. Granted, we knew about some of these games, but still, it was a lot of new footage. I was one happy boy. And while I was still buzzing with excitement from Banjo-Kazooie, we got the announcement for Breath of the Wild 2 in the end. The perfect way to close off a Direct, giving us a lot of stuff to look forward to. We got another Direct in September, but there is also a lot of stuff that we don't know about yet. Which brings us to this year. While making this video, no Directs have aired in 2020 yet, except for the Pokemon one. But I'm talking about the general Directs. As you can see, Nintendo has really upped their game in recent years and has made the Nintendo Direct their own to showcase the best stuff that's coming up. And there are many more presentations, like Directs for specific games or indie showcases. So this only scratches the surface. I hope I have given you an insight on where these Directs came from and how they looked back in the day. But if you're curious about what's coming to Nintendo in 2020, I can help you with that as well, by checking out this video where I give you my 10 predictions on what might happen. If you are a fan of Nintendo and games in general, be sure to subscribe to the channel, as you can find so much more content like this video right now. And there is even much more coming up. If you want to leave a like, that's also much appreciated. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll have an amazing day and I will see you next time.